Alright. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Dirty Harry, directed by Don Siegel and starring Clint Eastwood. Alright, I'm going to try and make this review as short as I possibly can, because if you could probably notice, I'm barely having trouble forming complete sentences because I have a really bad cold. So, but I really want to get this review out of the way. So, my thoughts on Dirty Harry is simple. I thought this movie was fantastic. Now, I am a fan of like neo noir detective stories. Dirty Harry is just what you want in a neo noir cop movie. This movie's got a dark, gritty, grounded atmosphere, and that's all credited to Don Siegel and his outstanding direction and the brilliant cinematography. This is a well shot movie, and it really captures a really grounded realism. And that's like the biggest praise I can give that movie is the grounded realism that it has. Aside from all that, you have outstanding performances. Clint Eastwood as Harry Callahan, fantastic performance. Clint Eastwood just has that stern, just no nonsense demeanor. That cop that borderlines on being a cop and being a vigilante. And Clint Eastwood plays it with just complete cold sternness. He's amazing all throughout this movie. And what I also like about this movie has a little bit of a dark humor to it. And I put all that to Clint Eastwood in his performance because he delivers everything really straightforward. And there are certain moments in this movie where you can't help but laugh. Like before he does the now famous "Do You Feel Lucky Punk," he's actually chewing a hot dog in a diner, and the entire time the shootout is happening, he's still chewing that hot dog, which I found that to be completely hilarious. And not only that, this movie has got brilliant suspenseful scenes. Uh, to me, I think the best scene is a scene where Clint Eastwood has to go from phone to phone to phone, following the trail that the Scorpio, the villain, is giving him. And to put it in comparison, you can compare it to Simon from Die Hard 3, who's like putting McClane through these little hurdles he has to go through. So that's how I compare that to that scene in this movie too. So it's brilliantly done. It's got a good suspense to it. It's very tight. Another thing I like about this movie is that it's it's a slow burn, but it's paced so well. Like this movie is never boring from start to finish. This movie just keeps you glued, and I like the '70s feel to it. This movie was made in '71, so it has though it clearly has a dated look to it. But I've always said, if the story is good, I don't care what year the movie was made. And the story for this movie is good. It is simple. It is just a cop versus a lunatic, and you have a great performance by Clint Eastwood that anchors it, and a hero is just as good as his villain. And I thought Andy Robinson as Scorpio was fantastic. I think Andy Robinson in this movie is gleefully over the top, and I like the scenes where he's just like shooting people off, and I like the scenes where he finally has dialogue and he's just like taunting and playing with Callahan. And then we get to the scene where they have a shootout and Callahan, he stabs him in the leg. Then they chase him to a football field, and then Scorpio becomes like a sniveling little bitch, and then and this is what I think this is to me the underrated greatness of the Scorpio character. He's becomes a sniveling bitch, and then he kind of tricks everyone by getting himself by paying to get beat up by somebody, and then he tries to be a manipulative asshole. So I think the Scorpio character is a really underrated villain in cinema, and Andy Robinson does a fantastic performance all throughout the movie. I thought he was really really good, great even. I also like the supporting cast in this movie. This movie has an appearance by John Vernon, who plays the mayor. If you're familiar with John Vernon, he voices Rupert Thorne in the Great Batman the Animated Series, and I like him as the mayor. He has a couple of scenes here and there. The character of Chico, who is Harry's partner for a good portion of the movie, I like the dynamic and the relationship between these two. Chico is not really a cop like Harry. Chico's more of a straight-laced cop, while Harry's more of that cop that constantly teeters the line. And they have a good contrast with one another, which I think is actually really, really good. And I think the movie got just the right amount of mileage out of it without focusing too much on it. Another thing I thought this movie did well is the detective work. Seeing how Dirty Harry like handles a case is great because he does it in a very unconventional way that again that is teetering on breaking the law and following the law. And again, all credit goes to the writing, goes to Don Siegel, and goes to Clint Eastwood. These guys knew what they were doing with this character. That's why Dirty Harry as a character has been able to stand the test of time. uh, I thought the movie's violence is really really well handled. It's not vicious. But I mean, it can be vicious in a lot of areas, but it's not like overly done. Like this movie picks and chooses when to show its violent parts, and when you do see it's effective and it works. Like when Scorpio, when we first see Scorpio kill somebody, it's effective and it's working. It's a very slow pace to that, and you got a really underrated '70s like funk score, also that backs this movie up, and it really makes it stand out. Uh, Another scene where I think the violence is done pretty well is the chase between Callahan and Scorpio, done really really well. And then we get to the end of the movie where Scorpio pretty much kidnaps a school bus full of kids, and you got the ultimate showdown between the two. Great stuff. So yeah, those are just my quick thoughts on Dirty Harry. Like I said, I thought this movie was great. I thought it was fantastic from a production standpoint. Like I said, this movie has everything. It's got a grounded, gritty realism. You have just intense, captivating performances by everybody in this cast. You got a good supporting cast, and you have an intriguing yet simple story that sucks you right in once this movie starts. So yes, Dirty Harry for me is a perfect 10. I loved this movie. I thought it was great. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Dirty Harry. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.